we spent the past couple of years in a crazy hot market. Louisville home sales decline as demand outpaces supply. Effective communication is at the core of any situation. If you master these two ideas, you'll have a chance of being successful at residential real estate marketing. I think you need to be looking for investment opportunities that move the needle. The market will never crash if demand exceeds supply. This is what I've been telling you all along.
This is the Jay Pitts Show.
And we're back, folks. Welcome back to the Jay Pitts Show. Who am I? Jay Pitts. I'm your host, here with Ryan Harris, back for another episode. That hiatus, man, I did good last week and then just totally stepped on the intro this time. Right. But you know what? That's how you know. Right? This is live filmed, live recorded. It's not live to you probably through your Spotify app, but we do record this. There's not really a whole lot of editing. Everything's on the fly. So now you know how the sausage is made. Ryan, what do you got for us this week?
We got a good amount of real estate topics in this one, and also some parenting topics as well. And sure. The reason for that, our best videos are parenting topics. Like,
so funny.
If you go back and look at all our shorts on social media, the parenting topic.
Yeah, they tend to do pretty well.
It's probably because it applies to more people than real estate.
I agree, and I think people have grown like very used to hearing real estate analysis and tips and stories, and then they see us and they think, okay, that's what I'm getting, but then they get something different, and it kind of gives them pause. And you know how the algorithms, right? It's like the amount of time, how a video goes viral, to my understanding, you may understand it differently, has a lot to do with like the average watch time. Yeah. And if, for example, like a view is constituted as a 3-second watch, if you're averaging a 6 or an 8-second watch time within like the first, say, 1,000 views, like they deem that worthy of kind of lending more exposure to. Right. So that's what happens, I think, and that can happen so quickly when it's something you don't expect. Right? Like, I think you even had this at the beginning of TikTok. You showed me a video that you just simply typed on the screen, wait till the end. Yeah. And it was like almost nothing going on, right? It was like you playing a video game or something at like main event.
Also, nothing happened at the end.
And nothing happened at the end, but people watched the video longer and it got seen like 250,000 times or something crazy.
Yeah.
So obviously the jig is up and people know what that means now, and they know that they're being baited kind of into.
It's probably a little different for people to see two males talking about parenting advice also
true
on social media.
Also true.
So
anyway, we'll see where it goes.
We might not talk about real estate ever again on this show.
It might just be a parenting podcast.
Or maybe we'll do
Everybody's like, why are these guys talking about this? They are not qualified.
Hey, qualified a little bit.
Well, we have kids, but like that doesn't doesn't make you qualified to give parenting advice.
All right, let's jump into it.
Very presumptuous.
So, listener question again this week is for myself.
Okay.
And we were in a meeting right before recording this podcast, and you were talking about how much you're talking about being listing focused to your team right now.
For sure.
Can you go a little more in depth on that and explain why you're putting an emphasis on listings right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So for those listeners that don't know this, I mean, unfortunately, this is going to be a bit of a humble brag or self-pat on the back, however you want to look at it. But we were just confirmed as the number one real estate team in the state of Kentucky, all brands, all sizes, both units and volume. This is the third year consecutive that we have been that. All that is as a result of growth that started the fall of 2020. Okay, we were within the top 2 or 3 prior to that, but we saw a substantial amount of growth in the fall of 2020 and all of 21 in terms of adding agents. A lot of this was as a result of being named the first Zillow Flex team in the state of Kentucky, which those of you that are not aware of that, even within the industry, that is essentially a partnership with Zillow where we pay referral fees and we get a substantial amount of Zillow leads because Zillow is making the bet on us that we're going to convert more than their pay-as-you-go kind of consumer. Right? So we had a need to bring on agents. We brought on a lot of agents. Those agents were very successful as a result of what we do as a team, but large in part due to those leads. Right? Well, with the new legislation, or not legislation, but the settlement and potential legislation that comes of it, DOJ scrutiny and things that we've talked ad nauseum about on this podcast. You know, that sort of method, that buyer agent factory, that like, another thing I've talked about is direct response marketing. Like that direct response marketing, here's a house that you're interested in seeing, contact me to go see it. Let me get face-to-face with you and sell myself in the process of showing you this home and show you why you should work with me as an agent. It's just not as viable as it once was. Compensation's not guaranteed, or it's never been guaranteed, but it's not even reasonably expected at this point. So like the calculus just doesn't work anymore. Like to meet a stranger at a house that you've had very minimal pre-qualification with, showing them the home and relying on the fact that they won't go find another agent after that, used to be actually fairly effective. Now, even if we get the client to agree to work with us, there's no reasonable expectation of a certain level of compensation, so we can't even balance those costs anymore. Right? Even if we're successful, we don't know if we're going to be profitable while being successful. So all that to say, like, what is reasonably expected this time? And it is full fee for full service on the listing side of the equation.
Yep.
Okay, especially in the turnover period over the next couple of years while the industry is trying to find itself as a result of this sweeping change, which almost undoubtedly will end in a substantial number of agents leaving the industry. So, it goes back to the old mantra, right? You list or you don't last. And frankly, that's a good thing. It's a good thing because listings are more easily leveraged. It's so much easier to manage 10 listings than it is to manage 10 buyers, right? And you should have some balance to your business. You should continue to represent, as a successful agent, you should continue to represent buyers. But I think you should be putting an outsized emphasis on listings right now.
Yeah, and the cool thing about listings that oftentimes turns into a buyer as well.
Absolutely.
So killing two birds with one stone.
Right. We often say that you have a potential for a 400% income increase between year one and year 6, or year 1 and year 5, whatever it ends up being. And that's rooted in the fact that you're going to see appreciation of the house you sold someone originally. Okay. And then they come back and list it with you at a higher price, but you also get to help them upgrade. And so it's very easy. I won't go through the math right now, but it's very easy to illustrate. Your first client that you sell in year 1 comes back to you in year 7, but they come back to you times 4x on revenue. Mm-hmm. Right? Yep. Because of the 2 sales and the escalated prices. So that's, that's absolutely the case. 2 transactions are always better than 1.
So when you tell your team, let's focus on listings or try to get more listings, what are they then going out and doing?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're going back to, listing lead generation mechanisms through your sphere of influence, up your contacts game, right? Home valuation offers, expireds for sale by owners, things that, have traditionally been successful while challenging, but successful at generating listing inventory, right? And really, like, the tried and true is just following up with your past clients. Yeah. Like, it's a staggering number of agents do not ever communicate with their clients after closing. It's a staggering number, how many people can't name their real estate agent after 3 years. We just have to be the exception and not the rule there.
Yeah. I love posting a new listing on social media and then going through and seeing how many of old clients have liked the post.
Yeah.
Because you're not talking to them face to face and you need to, but that is them acknowledging, like, hey,
they pay attention to you.
You're doing this still. We know that. We'll probably call you when the time comes.
This podcast,
I can't believe how many people have said something to me about this podcast.
Yeah, I know. And that's just it.
Me. I'll see random people out that I haven't talked to in, 2-3 years, and the first thing they mention is the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I did the grocery cart ads, which is something I used to make fun of. It's funny. We watched the old, was it the first episode, Hannah, of Resource where I made fun of grocery cart ads? And I famously have spoken about that on this podcast about how successful it's been. And it is literally just another way for your people to bump into you.
Right. You're not going to get new business from it probably, but it's the greatest marketing for yourself for clients you've already had.
I mean, tell me. All I had to do was be very strategic about it. I bought the Kroger outside my neighborhood, and I bought the Kroger outside my kid's school. Okay, so I couldn't tell you how much Tyler Center Kroger outside of St. Michael, where my kids go to school. I have never once have I been in that Kroger and not seen someone I know.
Can I tell you the marketing spot kind of like that I'm trying to get if you agree to not
go ahead
after it?
Okay.
Neville Mead, have you played out there in a bit?
I played out there, I don't know, 6 months ago.
So their golf cart, when you're on like 9 and 18, it dings a couple times in on one, and there's an
ad.
I think it might be financial services.
I think it did. I think I did.
I'm like, I want that spot.
Well, interestingly enough, I had a guy reach out to me about advertising on the Louisville, not scorecards. They have sign placards like on tee boxes.
Oh yeah.
And Louisville Metro courses throughout. I mean, I could have, for a certain amount of money, bought every single one of them. And it was interesting. It was a very good salesperson, which I'm always appreciative of, someone who knows their product and actually makes it good. I
always tell those people after, like, you're very good at what you do, by the way.
You should get a real estate
license. I'm not interested.
I'm always like, you should get a real estate license. Because if you can sell this, like, just let me show you how to sell real estate. No, the demo of golfers is exactly what we're looking for. If you have the disposable income to play golf, you chances are in the market for a nice home. And so that was something that I actually considered because my eyes had been opened because of the grocery cards.
Yeah.
I just wasn't there wasn't as much, marketing penetration as there was just right there at the kids' school. Seeing carpool line literally split in half, and like half of the people pull into the Kroger parking lot as they leave with their kids in the afternoon. I mean, it's incredible. You think about it, you're like, oh, wow. Like, I could not have advertised in a better place.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So
that's cool. So I want to get the Neville Mead one because, I mean, that's where all my friends basically play golf.
I wouldn't do Neville. So you're safe.
Good.
You're safe. Right. I'm not going to compete. I'm not going to compete with you over it.
So, all right, there we go. That's Jay's trying to get his team to get a lot more listings right now. He kind of walked you through what they're doing and what his thought process is and why. Now we'll move on to you're doing a Resource Live event. You want to dive into that? When is it? What is it? Who's invited? Do you have to RSVP?
Yeah. So, okay. So Resource, number one, let's just review what that is. If you follow us on Apple Podcasts, you'll still see it. I'm not certain that it's on Spotify, but it was the original title of the podcast that I started, that we ran an episode of while I was out of town a couple of weeks ago. It was called the Resource Podcast. RE in parentheses, real estate, resource, had to be catchy and cliche apparently. But we've continued that branding in a lot of ways throughout our business. And so we're lending it to this series that I hope to end up doing of live events where we are going to be inviting agents. Now, it is a private training for our office. Okay. We have 110 agents. All of them will be invited. However, the space does have capacity for more than 110 people to attend. So I do know that we won't get 100% participation. People just have things going on. So there will be a few select available seats to individuals outside the company. Now, you must have a real estate license to attend, and you must be an active real estate agent to attend. That's who it's for.
We must like you.
You can't not like me. That's not allowed. I won't invite people that don't like me. But the event is basically, I'm bringing in two national speakers. Okay, one is a homegrown real estate person that had tons of success. One point in time, the number one real estate agent in the city of Louisville, and real estate coach to the nation's elite team leaders and real estate professionals, Debbie Holloway. She has been in this industry for probably 40 years. She lives right here. Actually, she's in Shelbyville now, was former Jefferson County resident, but now owns horses and has property and is a Shelby County resident. But she will be here speaking, as well as Jason Pantana, which is essentially my coach. He's my personal coach. Tom Ferry's number two, leads several marketing focused events for Tom Ferry nationwide, speaks at Tom Ferry Success Summit annually in front of 7,000 to 8,000 people. Jason is awesome. He is on the forefront, on the cusp of AI as it pertains to real estate. He is a chat GPT expert. He is a self-professed marketing nerd, knows, all the Google PPC, retargeting, like just an absolute savant when it comes to this stuff. So Jason will be in town and will be delivering the keynote, and I will also be doing an agent panel of top agents, Q&A for agents and team leaders. So anyway, it's a 10 to 2-ish, event, depending. We are going to feed people. There is select availability for individuals outside RE/MAX Premier Properties. What you should do if you hear this and you're interested in attending, just give me a shout. Hit me up in DMs on Instagram, or if you have my cell phone, text me. More than happy to get a ticket over to those interested within our capacity. I don't know exactly what that will be yet. 30 to 40 seats perhaps total. We've got a few already RSVP'd from outside the brokerage. So it won't last forever. It will sell out, and we're going to feed you twice, and it's free of charge. So hopefully, that's something that interests, some of you listeners, loyal listeners of the Jay Pitt Show, former listeners of the Resource Podcast, and we're going to bring back some nostalgia with that.
Yeah, that'll be a cool event. I'm looking forward to it, and it's in August, correct? Did you say that?
Yeah, August 15th, I believe. It's a Thursday. It's at the Geens Lodge, kind of out Shelbyville Road at the Parklands at Floyd's Fork. It's an awesome venue. If you haven't been there, a little scenic, big picture windows, you see it right out into nature, but there you are in a nice little event space that we'll put on a good event for you.
Yeah, cool. Well, that's awesome, man. Looking forward to it. All right, our first article topic of the day.
Okay.
So I don't know if you saw this, but housing affordability is the number one issue for young voters.
Oh yeah.
And it's pretty substantial, the numbers on this. Did you see it yet?
I haven't seen the numbers, but I am aware of the story. I think I headline read.
So 91% of adult members of Generation Z, so 18 to 27 years old, said housing affordability is their number one issue. 87% of millennials and 83% of Gen Xers. So
87, 83, 91, 87, 83.
People get older.
Yeah, 91, 87, 83.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
But I don't know. That stood out to me because I feel like over the last 3 to 5 years, we've been sold on this notion that Gen Z doesn't even want to own homes. They're going to be a generation of renters, not because they have to, but because that's what they want to do.
Well, didn't they try to tell us that about millennials before? I mean, maybe you don't recall this. I mean, you're a younger millennial. I'm an older millennial. It's something that I very much remember, a narrative that the media has been trying to spin for more than a decade.
Yeah. And I maybe believed a little bit about Gen Z. Maybe it's because I'm in the older generation and you just think that about the younger generations. Right. But it's nice to see that's pretty much shut down. People want to own a home. People eventually get older, and maybe people do want to buy homes later in life now than they maybe used to, and start a family later in life than maybe they used to. But eventually, everybody's going to want to own a home. It still is the American dream. There's nothing like owning a home. Yeah, there's other costs that come with it, but it's for savings. It's your piece of land you own.
No, I believe that. I think certain things tend to prove true with age. As you age, certain things happen. Certain things become more important. I definitely think homeownership is one of those things that, as you age, becomes a more important priority. Like I said, they said it about the millennial generation too. We were going to be a pay-as-you-go, service industry oriented, type of generation. That's not been the case. It's not proven the case. In fact, and something also interesting, I've seen before where younger generations place higher emphasis and higher value on the value of real estate agents. I don't know if you know that. It's for very different reasons, though. It's avoidance of mistake. It's avoidance of catastrophe. That is their biggest concern. I don't have a study to cite this, or a survey to cite right at this moment. But it's not been that long ago. I could probably dig it up. Where the younger you are, as a prospective buyer, the reasons you value real estate agents are very different. You know, access to information, for example, is one of the highest priorities or highest values a real estate agent provides to the older generation because they're not as adept at finding the information, right? Whereas they're more experienced and more confident that they can avoid catastrophe on their own accord. Whereas the young millennial or even the Gen Z buyer doesn't know what they don't know, and they need the real estate agent to keep them out of trouble. So kind of interesting, right? Because, you know, we've been taught to believe that A, they don't want to be homeowners, and B, they don't, if they do, they want to do everything themselves. They don't need your help, but that's actually a misnomer.
Yeah, no, it's cool. You know, the interesting thing about this though is I don't know how much either presidential candidate has the ability to help housing affordability. Like,
No.
sure, they have some options, but if you were running for president and you knew this was the number one issue among young voters, how would you address it, or what would you say you would do?
That's a really hard question, and I mean, it's going to force me to fly by the seat of my pants because I think there's a lot more information required to like craft a platform to make homeownership more affordable. Number one, I would educate. I think I with confidence can say this. I would educate the young consumer that how handsomely they will be paid for sacrifice of during the early years of their ownership. We've talked about it on this podcast. I believe that instead of paying $1,500 a month in a brand new apartment complex with a workout venue, a killer pool, and maybe even a coffee shop on the bottom floor for a 1-bedroom or even a 2-bedroom, right? Homeowners should be buying or renters should be spending that much or less on a 60% of median sale price home purchase, right? That they can almost certainly get bought because their competition is only real estate investors. And then they should spend 4 to 5 years allowing that home to appreciate at 4 to 8% per year while they simultaneously pay down debt and take tax advantage, and then roll $50,000 to $75,000 worth of equity into a market median purchase, and then do that again for 5 to 7 years, and then buy their dream home third.
Yeah.
Like it's just really, we say they are interested in homeownership, and yes, affordability is a challenge to buy what they want. But how about buying something you don't want first, like I did? And I know I'm like, get off my lawn right now. I know that. It's fine. But like, nobody should buy their dream home first.
You know, I was going to say, I think the answer you gave is probably the correct one. I think young people would eat you alive if you were running for president and said that.
I think I probably wouldn't make it a part of my platform. Yeah. I probably would have to win the election, and then I would say it after I was elected.
Oh, and then the older generation would be like, hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, believe it or not, there are still 65 million baby boomers out there, and they are remarkably more reliable voting bloc than Gen Z.
Yeah.
Or even the millennial generation. But anyway, I digress. Okay, Ryan, so that's part of it. Education on sacrifice. And honestly, I think you've seen a lot of real estate investment out of younger generations over the course of the last, decade or so. There's a lot of interest in investing. If you could illustrate the numbers to young people on the benefit, because I don't think anybody spends any time doing that, they might be more willing than you think to make some sacrifice. You know what I mean? So anyway, that's one thing. Okay, what would I do? I would probably, if I had to use the levers of government, right? Not just the bully pulpit, where the president gets to stand up and talk to everybody and everybody kind of has to listen. If I could use the levers of government, I think I would incentivize small business financing for new construction. I would probably, and I think that could be creatively achieved, and I would try to create housing inventory that would balance the scales a little bit through available incentive financing for small builders.
Yeah. There's all these first-time home buyer grants, which we've talked about. Sounds great when you just hear that. But ruined supply.
It's awful. You're increasing the price by the amount of the grant.
My thought is, why don't you grant that money to builders to create new supply instead of granting that money to people that are going to take away from the supply?
The answer, Ryan, is that our American political system is broken, and they have to stand account, right, to the media for giving money to somebody who already has money.
Yeah.
And they'd rather throw it away than be accused of that, because that's essentially what you're doing. You are throwing away $25,000 by giving a first-generation homeowner a $25,000 grant to compete over the same existing supply that was prior to, because the price is going to escalate by the amount of the grant.
Yeah. I was just thinking about a second ago, you saying our political party's broken. If there was another political party, so you got Republicans, Democrats, I guess there's independents, but what would you name the new one?
The Reform Party? I don't know. But I'm pretty sure that there has been one of those, and it's
Probably was probably in Nazi Germany or something. I don't know. There's a reason why there's not a Reform Party in the United States right now. I'm sure. I'm not educated enough, but seriously, yeah, it's broken. But it's so entrenched. It's so there's so much apparatus behind all of it. They have all the money. I mean, you can't run.
Yeah.
Can't run. Have you seen the new thing that they're fighting over now? It's been all over the news.
Zen.
Zins?
So the Zins
are they getting
sold anymore?
Oh, I didn't know that. I'm not a tobacco user, so I'm not aware.
It's not tobacco.
Is it not?
It's straight nicotine.
Oh, well, there you go. I'm not a nicotine.
Big tobacco's after them.
I'm not a nicotine user. Okay, so here's the thing. So apparently, you have obviously the standing argument. This is not a political podcast, so we'll move on quick. But so you have the Democrats saying that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. Democracy, that is their choice word. And the Republicans' response is, we're not a democracy, which is true. Okay, we are a representative republic, okay, or a constitutional republic, a representative democracy.
I'd say most people refer to us
as a democracy. But now, so which the Democrats respond, well, yeah, you're only saying that so that you can defeat democracy. Which
what a dumb thing to argue about.
It's just so stupid from both sides,
dumb.
Right?
And both sides are going to take the strongest stance in favor of their side when both sides are being stupid.
And it's all assumptions, and it's pandering to your base. Nobody makes arguments to win more people to their side anymore. You ever thought about that? There are so many people in this country, I think you and I both are included, that feel politically homeless, right? They feel no allegiance to either side, okay? And nobody crafts an argument for them anymore. We craft our arguments for our most radical supporters. You ever thought about that in politics? It's really crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's all people want to pacify anymore.
Such a small percentage,
and it's a small percentage, and it sucks all the air out of the room.
Probably 10% of people making 90% of the posts on social media.
It's pretty crazy. So anyway, let's move on. I don't want to talk about
so we were just talking about renting versus buying, and so Wells Fargo, they had a Bilt credit card. You've probably heard of Bilt, B-I-L-T.
Yeah.
And it's this new credit card allowing renters to pay for their rent with a credit card, and Wells Fargo is basically eating the fees. It was the whole goal behind it.
Yeah.
Help renters build credit, give them this credit card, let them pay their rent with it. There's no fee. Build your credit up, you get rewards. And of course, Wells Fargo was hoping people would use this credit card for things other than their rent. But right now, people are literally just using it to pay their rent and getting those rewards. And Wells Fargo is losing $10 million a month right now on this credit card.
Wow.
I think it's been implemented.
So they're not getting interest?
So it launched in 2022. It says the card is a partnership between Wells Fargo and Bilt Technologies. The partners wooed customers with an unusual feature. Cardholders could use the plastic to pay rent without triggering fees from landlords, all while earning rewards points. More than 1 million people have activated the new card. So it's doing for Wells Fargo what they wanted. They're getting a lot of new customers, younger customers getting a credit card. They're just not getting what they really want, and people using it for other things and holding balances.
So the actuaries are sitting, I mean, they have to charge interest, right? Like, I mean, there can't be no
Yeah,
interest.
but what they're saying is people are paying this thing off, so they're not charging interest.
Yes. So, they've got their actuaries working like overtime in the back office trying to determine like, are we ever going to make money from these people?
Yeah, so here's what they said. Of course, they're going to come out and say of the new credit card holders, 70% are actually brand new customers of Wells Fargo. Their average age is 31. And actually, I guess a lot of these people have good credit scores already, but their average FICO score is 760. All desirable metrics. They say that's what they want. Really, what credit card companies want are people who aren't going to pay off their credit card, so they can make money and add it to their balance sheet of.
Yeah, and they collect interest on this monthly. But like, you know, I have a hard time feeling sorry for any credit card company. I mean, they're getting it.
Oh, I think it's awesome. How often does something like that get launched and people use it for literally only what it's supposed to be used for?
Yeah, I mean, they probably could have like made it conditional upon making X number of additional purchases per month, and they just didn't have the foresight to do it.
Yeah, maybe.
You know, because I mean, think about rewards.
Or they just severely underestimated.
So rewards are conditional. Yeah, it sounds like they severely underestimated its success level, and like they were like, how many people are going to do this? Way more people did it than they thought, and so it wasn't an issue when, like, if they projected 100,000 new subscribers, that's one thing, but when it's 10x that, like that, they had some unintended consequence.
Yeah. Well, I think
But a business as big as Wells Fargo, number one, the federal government will never let them fail. Number two, like, it's just a lost lead. It's all
honestly, it probably will pay dividends for them in the future.
just new customers.
Wells Fargo customers, they'll get another credit card at some point. So it probably will pay dividends.
Yeah.
It's what, $120 million marketing.
I mean, 1 million new 760 average credit score consumers. I mean, it's got to be something there.
So
I don't know. We'll see.
I don't know.
It's an interesting story, though. I had not heard about that. I mean, I heard about the card, but I had not heard that there were challenges with it.
They're losing a lot of money right now.
Wow.
But they can eat it. It's Wells Fargo.
There you go.
All right. Let's get into some of the parenting topics.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to start with one I thought I was going to end with. And that is, I have an old head take. So old head, I feel like I'm getting a little older. And I want you to either confirm or shut down this take I have.
Is it because I'm an old head?
No.
It's like that's how I get to confirm
No,
this.
that's not why. It's because you coach a lot of kids.
I do.
And it has to do with just being around probably more kids than I am at this
Okay.
point. Like, all the kids I'm around, all my friends,
Babies.
the oldest kid is 2,
Yeah.
like 3 maybe. So, and I have some cousins out here and they're a little older, so, but it's just something I've noticed being out in public, or kids I do know. And that is that kids under the age, I don't know, let's say 13, aren't as well mannered as what I remember growing up. Like, I remember from a very young age, and what I mean by that is like, yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am, thank you, please, like, just basically forced to like learn this at a very young age, and whether that was, you know, from my parents, but also playing a lot of sports and coaches teaching it. Like, if I didn't say yes sir, no sir to my coach, like, you're running a lap or getting in trouble. Like, do you think that's true?
I think
What do you
it's true.
see coaching kids?
I think it's true. I mean, I think I am around mostly kids with very involved parents, right? Two parent households mostly, very involved parents. But the level of discipline it's not like it's not there, right? These are good kids. They make good grades in school. They are successful at sports. What I've learned, what I seem to have seen, and I've noticed it in myself at times, and I'm probably more traditional than most parents, right? You know, I'm probably more about respect and, you know, manners and things like you're explaining our parents were. What I feel like a trend in parenting today is being more of a friend to your kid. The parent wanting to enjoy the kid's company, which leads to different behaviors, right? Like, I mean, and not to, run him down at all. I mean, but my dad would work as long as he needed to work. He would come home. It was not his responsibility to do anything around the house or put food, to prepare food for us to eat. My mom took care of that, even though she worked, right? Most of my childhood. And it was a patriarchal household, a respectful one. He was respectful of my mother. He wasn't rude to her, but he expected her to have dinner ready. And that was, and not in a disrespectful way, like, where's my dinner? Not like that. It was just how the household was. That's not the case in the majority of the house, any of them almost anymore. Nope. Parents are partners. Houses are more home life is more conversational. In my own house, very conversational. Yep. Like, my son is a respectful kid. In fact, I think his behavior with other adults is almost better than it is to us. He is very respectful, and
how it should be,
and understands. But he is more willing to talk back to me than I ever was to my parents, and it's probably because I would have got slapped, But I've never laid a hand on my kids ever, and it's just a different world. He and I are more. We have more of a friend relationship than I did with my dad. And it's not that I didn't enjoy my relationship with my dad, but it was very very authoritarian. And it's forced when I try to be that way. I mean, so I have to really pick my battles. Sometimes I'm not good at that. But I think that probably leads to kids being less mannered, less well-mannered.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say I was never spanked ever as a kid. Never will spank my kids. Just not something I'm going to do. I can't even fathom doing that. I know people are probably maybe watching this clip right now on social media or listening and thinking, that's, how can you not think about doing that?
I've never.
I'm not going to do it, and
I've never spanked.
Can't imagine myself doing it.
I got spanked, but I never did spank. I've never spanked my kids, and I haven't even really given it a thought. It was just never a thing. I think before I had kids, if you asked me, I would have said, I think it's important. I think I would have said it's important to do before I had kids, because I knew what effect it had on me. And it just taught me to be, respectful, reverent of the right situation, and to fear consequence that, in a way that I wouldn't make certain choices. And I don't feel like it stifled me in any way. Mm-hmm. But the second you lay eyes on your kid, it's there's no friggin' way I could ever. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And
I just couldn't.
I don't know. I just whenever I meet a kid now and they are very well mannered, I definitely notice it, and I'm gonna make sure my kids are very well mannered. Sure. He's 10 months old, and somebody give him a toy, and I'm say thank you, and obviously he doesn't know what the heck I'm saying, but just starting that and him hearing words now already is, I feel very important.
It's funny, my kids have, it's funny, I'm thinking of my daughter. I know my older son has heard and seen and witnessed me doing this, but I'll see an old coach somewhere.
Coach.
And I'll say, hey, coach, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, whatever. An old teacher, that's Mrs. So-and-so to me. And I'll say, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. And my son's gets it. My daughter's Daddy, why'd you call him coach? He's not your coach. You're an adult. She's almost mystified, because she's so young. She's 6. She doesn't understand yet, but she's my sweet one. And so it's she's really curious. To see me, almost subjugate myself to someone else as an authority is really interesting to her, because she's never seen that. I mean, I'm daddy. I'm the authority to her. And so it's really interesting, but that's something that they learn. And I will tell you, my third one is going to be the hardest, because he just does what he wants. Yeah. And so, but he responds to me, and really only me, the way I responded to my dad, with fear. He is afraid of whatever I might do. And I've, again, never laid a hand on him, never been physical at all. But he and I roughhouse and play, and he is very aware of what physically I am able to do that he is not, because he is a very physical kid. And so he just, like, when I'm upset, he's upset.
Do you ever get mad at your kids and afterwards you're like, I bet I would look real scary to them?
Oh, dude, the dad voice is real. And, like, the look,
I've already brought mine out. Hey!
Oh, yeah. No. It's something. I mean, it is something. Like, my wife just, like, leaves the room. When I start talking, when dad voice comes out, she's like, all right, I got to let him go.
That's awesome.
So, and then every once in a while, she's like, all right, that's enough. Like, you need to chill.
You're scaring me.
You're scaring everybody.
All right, we're going to move on to our last question. It's kind of a two-parter, but it's one about kids as well. So, first one, what's the hardest part about owning a business and having kids?
Hardest part of owning a business and having kids.
Could be a short answer or.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, owning a business is hard. Period. You know, I will say, let's rewind, and I will tell you, like, early in my journey as a parent, balance, like, trying to change how you go about things. Having the courage. I mean, when I was very anxious when we first had kids, when we had our first, I was very anxious that I wouldn't be able to support us, you know, and I knew I had something else in my life that was more important, that was going to take a lot of time. And I was still very anxious about what I could do to provide. So just finding a way to be confident enough in yourself that you can take time to do what's most important, which is your family. And not think that you're going to lose what you've worked for to be able to support that family. It takes some time. And so that was the hardest part initially. Now, once I built that confidence, and now, you know, it's like an AR settlement, or, you know, this agent leaves, or, you know, the market turns, or whatever happens in our business that's like less than optimal.
Yeah.
Like some big things have happened, you know, and I'm not scared. I'm not afraid. And I, you know, I have 3 kids now, not 1. I have a lot more liabilities, financially and otherwise. I have a lot more to lose, and I'm less fearful. You know, there's a lot more risk in what we do now than there was once upon a time. But, like, honestly, I think, like, having a business affords you the opportunity to be available for your kids, to do the things that your family wants to do, to prioritize.
Would you say that's the best part?
It's the best part, absolutely the best part, because, like, I control my schedule. And there's a lot of people that aren't capable of controlling their schedule and you know, meeting the needs of both sides, right? Both family and business wise. But I couldn't, I mean, if I had to report to a place from this time to this time, or not have a job. Now, what I've seen in corporate America, and things have become more flexible. You know, my fellow coaches that work jobs, right? That they're still able to find a way to make ball games when there's we had a 10 a.m. Friday baseball game 2 weeks ago. 10 a.m. on Friday. Like, I mean,
I'll tell you.
If I was a, I don't know, an accountant, like, I might not have been able to do that.
I have a good buddy who worked, I won't say his name, I won't say the company, but works at a very, like, corporate company.
Yeah.
Here in town, and we were in a group chat with him and a few other buddies, and he went home on a Friday. Or no, he didn't go into work till the afternoon, stayed at home to work, and he's, like, pretty high up at this company now, doing very well.
Yeah.
And leads a big group of people, ate lunch, took a 20-minute nap
during the day, then went to work. I couldn't believe it.
That's wild.
And
I mean, COVID changed corporate America in that respect. I know a lot of companies are calling people back to the office and doing things like that, but whatever. The best part to me is I get to absolutely be in 100% control of my day.
Yeah.
And I get to divide my time across my priorities as I see fit.
Yeah.
And what I also think is I think it's really good for children to be raised around a business.
So I was about to ask that. Is there a little bit of the cool factor of, for you at least, knowing your kids know you, own a business,
Yes.
operate a business? Like, there's got to be a little bit of like self. Like, I'm glad they know that.
Well, they absolutely know. And like, you know, my 11-year-old is quote unquote working. We talked about that, I think, last week. And, you know, I've got him an email address. I've got him a laptop that was like an old one that we were working through. He's got like a specific set of like tasks and like a core objective for like the summer, if you will. And, you know, like right now he's at my wife just picked him up, but he was at a baseball camp this morning. He'll be here in the office probably some this afternoon.
Hot for that.
I know, at least it was 9. It was 9 to 12, so little better than afternoons at least. But yeah, he'll probably be here this afternoon and probably be doing some things. And like, you know, I'm kind of treating it less like a job and more like a business owner, his role.
Yeah.
Like the objective is to achieve a certain outcome, not to punch the clock from this time to this time, because I don't want to train him to be an employee. I want him to be a business owner. And if he wants to be an employee, great. That's fine. He's going to have plenty of opportunities outside of my world to get ready for that, you know? But I can't guarantee that he'll have access to any other businesses to where he'll truly get to see the workings of a business the way he could here. I mean, my dad afforded me that opportunity. You know, I kind of like, I go back to the, and I'm sure you know this, we obviously know one from being from a small town. He's an agent here now, but I always talk about the car dealer's kid. You know, like the guy that owns or lady that owns the car dealership and their kids work at the dealership. Well, they start by, you know, wiping down cars on the lot and writing prices on sale day with the marker on the windshield. And then they start detailing cars and they may go on to like work the service desk, and then eventually they work as a salesperson, and then they learn the finance aspect, and then they're the GM or the sales manager, and then eventually they run the dealership because they know literally every aspect of the business.
Yeah.
Like I kind of like that, you know, and I'm kind of starting my son in a place where I feel like he's going to see a wide array of what we do here.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
and
awesome.
again, you know, he'll have plenty of opportunities to wait tables if he wants. You know, like, I mean, there's, you know, work construction. Like, I mean, there's going to be things like that. He'd be a camp counselor, you know, all the jobs that younger kids do. He'll have those opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
Well, cool, man. That's all I have. So.
Okay. So quick one for you today. Appreciate you joining in. I'll try not to butcher the outgoing message like I did the incoming message, but again, we do appreciate your listenership every week. Find us on the socials at jpittsrealtor, at ryanharris.re. Give us a subscription if you don't mind, if you like the show. Reviews are always welcome, both on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or really anywhere you podcast, you can probably find us. Those two are most appreciated, though. Certainly where I consume all my podcasts. I'm not sure about you. Spotify. I think I'm an Apple podcast more than Spotify. I listen to Rogan on Spotify, but either way, they're both a decent experience. Any reviews, any shares, always appreciated. Please remember, if you're a real estate agent and you'd like an invite to the Resource Live event on August 15th, shoot me a DM or a text if you've got my cell. Happy to get you added to the list there. But again, that's all we have for you this week. We'll be back next week on the J Pitts Show. I'm your host, Jay Pitts, with Ryan Harris. We'll see you soon.